Central City was drowning in rain. It had been falling for hours now, turning the streets into a mirror of neon lights, washing away the filth but not the sins of the city. The distant hum of traffic was muffled under the constant downpour, and somewhere in the distance the slow, sorrowful wail of a police siren stretched through the night. Normally, Barry Allen would find comfort in the rhythm of the storm, the way it softened the hard edges of reality. But not tonight. Tonight there was something wrong. He crouched near the crime scene, his scarlet suit dim under the flickering red and blue lights of the police cruisers parked haphazardly across the alley. The body, a man in his mid-40s, a known arms dealer, was slumped against the wall, his face frozen in terror, his limbs twisted in ways that didn't make sense. But it wasn't the broken body that sent a shiver up Barry's spine. It was the way the alley smelled, like something had been living in the shadows. Thick black tendrils were still attached to the corpse's chest, pulsing faintly, twitching as if they were struggling to hold on to something that was already gone. They weren't human. They weren't natural. Barry's hands moved carefully as he reached out, fingers hovering just over the strange material. And then, it moved. Barry jerked back instantly, instinct kicking in, electricity crackling at his fingertips. The black mass reacted, snapping toward him like a striking serpent before shriveling inward, curling up like a dying organism. Then, as if it had never been there at all, it dissolved into nothing. Barry clenched his jaw, his heart pounding in his ears. He had seen metahuman crime scenes before. He had fought monsters, gods, creatures that should never exist. But this was something else. A low groan made him turn. The survivor. Barry moved quickly, kneeling beside the paramedics as they worked on the injured man, his face slick with rain and sweat. The man's breathing was shallow, his skin pale, his body covered in claw-like lacerations, as if something had gripped him, drained him. But it was his eyes that unsettled Barry the most. They were unfocused, darting around frantically, searching for something that wasn't there. Barry leaned in. "Hey, you're gonna be all right. Just tell me. Who did this to you?" The man's lips trembled. He tried to speak, but at first nothing came out but a weak, raspy exhale. His body shuddered violently. And then, finally, with his last ounce of strength, he whispered one word. "Monster." Barry felt something cold settle in his stomach. Then the shadows moved. Something was watching. Barry spun around just as a figure lunged from the rooftops above, moving too fast for human eyes to follow. A blur of black and white, a twisted, shifting shape of something alive and unnatural. It hit the ground just beyond the crime scene, rising to its full height, its form towering, its mass shifting as tendrils slithered across its hulking shoulders. The eyes were the first thing Barry saw, huge, milky white, devoid of pupils, stretching unnaturally across the creature's face like a demonic grin. Then, the mouth opened, rows upon rows of jagged teeth glimmered in the dim alley light, saliva dripping between them as Venom grinned. Barry's mind processed three things at once. It wasn't human. It wasn't a metahuman either. It was already moving. Venom lunged. Barry barely had time to react before a wall of muscle and teeth was on him, the sheer force of the attack sending him crashing through a police cruiser. The impact shattered the windshield, metal crumpling like tinfoil beneath him. Pain shot through his ribs, but he was already moving, already forcing himself into the speed force, lightning crackling around him as he blurred out of the wreckage. Venom turned sharply, head twitching, tracking him. Too slow. Barry struck first, hitting faster than sound, landing a devastating lightning-infused uppercut that sent Venom soaring into a street lamp. Sparks rained down as the lamp bent at an unnatural angle, But Venom was already getting up. It should have been over. That punch, that was enough to take out a heavyweight metahuman. But Venom barely staggered, his grotesque mouth twisting into something like a grin as he tilted his head. Then he spoke. His voice was thick, layered, monstrous, like multiple voices speaking at once. Fast, we like fast. Then Venom moved, and Barry realized too late, it wasn't slow. Venom was adapting. The black mass on its body shifted, tendrils shooting out like spears. One of them caught Barry mid-run, wrapping around his ankle and yanking him mid-air, before slamming him into the pavement. Hard. The impact stole the breath from Barry's lungs, but he forced himself to roll, barely dodging a massive clawed hand that came down where his head had been. Barry blurred again, appearing 10 feet away, his mind racing. It was strong, it could move, it could track him. And then, Venom laughed. A deep, unsettling, guttural laugh. It wasn't like the Joker's manic glee, or the eerie calm of Reverse Flash. This was something wrong, something inhuman. Venom took a slow step forward, tendrils writhing. "We have eaten gods before," Venom growled. You are nothing." Then black tendrils exploded outward, engulfing the alleyway in darkness. Barry ran. The rain had turned into a full storm, the howling wind cutting through the city like a blade, rattling street signs and sending discarded newspapers spiraling through the alleys. Thunder rumbled in the distance, echoing off the steel and glass of Central City's skyline. Barry Allen barely registered any of it. His mind was too busy replaying the fight, or rather, the hunt. Venom wasn't just fast, he was learning, adapting. What should have been a clear speed advantage for Barry was already starting to fade. It had studied him in the first battle, tracked his movements, adjusted to his velocity. The tendrils, it wasn't just attacking randomly. They were predicting, intercepting, and worst of all, it enjoyed the hunt. Barry had encountered monsters before. He'd fought beings that could warp time, rewrite reality, shatter entire timelines. But Venom wasn't trying to conquer, wasn't trying to achieve some higher purpose. It was simply hungry. The echoes of Venom's last words still clung to Barry's mind like a shadow. An afterimage burned into his skull. "We have eaten gods before." Barry exhaled sharply, clenching his fists as he stood on the rooftop of Star Labs. He could still feel the dull ache in his ribs, where Venom had slammed him into the pavement. The creature had overpowered him, a speedster capable of moving faster than light itself. The realization made his stomach tighten with something he rarely felt. Doubt. "You're rattled." Barry turned sharply at the voice, finding Batman standing in the shadows beneath the roofop's antenna. The Dark Knight's presence was like an open wound on the world, heavy, unnatural, suffocating. He had arrived silently, as he always did, as if he had always been there, waiting. "Tell me what you know," Batman continued, stepping forward, his armored boots barely making a sound against the wet concrete. Barry ran a hand through his damp hair, shaking his head. "I don't even know where to start, Bats. This thing, it's not like anything I've faced before. It's alive. It thinks. It learns. It's..." He hesitated. "It's fast. Not Speed Force fast, but it's figuring me out." Batman nodded slightly, crossing his arms. "Then you need to end this before it finishes learning. Before it surpasses you." "Yeah, I figured that much," Barry muttered, pacing. "I just don't know how to take it down. My normal hits barely phased it. It heals. Fast. And it can sense me. I can't outrun it forever." Batman studied him carefully before responding. "It's not a metahuman, Barry. It's an alien parasite. A living organism that bonds to a host, enhances it, but also consumes it over time. His voice darkened. It's not just the body it corrupts, it's the mind. Barry swallowed hard. That explained why Eddie Brock, the man underneath, hadn't even seemed human anymore. So what stops it? Barry asked. Fire and sound, Batman replied. Loud focused frequencies disrupt the symbiote's nervous system. Enough of it, and it'll be forced to separate from its host. Barry exhaled. Good. I think I have an idea. 30 minutes later, the Central City power plant hummed with energy. The air inside the facility was thick with the scent of ozone and burning metal, the massive generators vibrating with electricity. It was the perfect place for Barry's plan. He stood near the main console, adjusting the frequency levels on a series of modified ultrasonic emitters, repurposed tech from Star Labs. If he could lure Venom into the center of the power grid and activate all of them at once, the sonic blast would be enough to tear the symbiote away from Eddie Brock's body. Simple, direct, efficient. Only one problem. Venom wasn't an idiot. Barry could already feel eyes watching him from the darkness. He wasn't sure how long Venom had been there, watching, waiting, but he could hear the deep, guttural breathing in the shadows above, claw-like fingers scraping against steel. And then, finally, the voice. You think we don't know, little lightning man? Barry turned sharply. Venom was hanging upside down from the rafters, its grotesque white eyes staring down at him. Its hulking mass looked even bigger in the dim industrial lighting. Tendrils curling down like the roots of a dying tree. We are patient, Venom purred. We are clever. Barry took a slow step back. Yeah, you talk too much. Lightning crackled around him, and he vanished. Venom dropped from the ceiling just as Barry blurred behind him, landing a Speed Force-infused punch that sent the creature flying. The impact was brutal. Venom crashed into a metal support beam, denting it inward. But instead of pain, there was only laughter. Venom rushed him. Barry dodged left, too slow. A black tendril lashed out, wrapping around his wrists like a vice, and before he could phase through it, Venom swung him like a rag doll, slamming him into a row of electrical panels. Sparks exploded outward as Barry hit the ground, the taste of blood thick in his mouth. Venom loomed over him, grinning wide. We were hoping you would taste like the gods of our world, it murmured, tilting its head. But you taste like prey. Barry growled, forcing himself up, electricity crackling around his arms. You're not the first freak to underestimate me. Venom's grin widened, and you are not the first fool to run. Venom lunged again, but Barry was already moving, zipping across the plant, lightning tearing across the air as he activated the sonic emitters. A high-pitched scream filled the facility. Venom howled. The symbiote convulsed, writhing as black tendrils peeled away from Eddie Brock's skin, exposing raw flesh beneath. Barry blurred forward, landing a flurry of lightning-fast blows, hammering Venom with enough force to shatter concrete. Each punch cracked against exposed ribs, torn muscle, every hit forcing more of the symbiote to recoil. Eddie's face flickered into view. For a moment, he looked human again. Barry hesitated. Venom took advantage. The symbiote surged forward, tendrils snapping around Barry's throat and slamming him against the control panel. Sparks rained down, the emitters failing, the sonic waves dying off. And then, Venom did something unexpected. He didn't finish Barry off. Instead, the black mass began shifting, its tendrils retreating inward, focusing, growing bulkier, faster, deadlier. Barry's eyes widened. It had adapted again. A voice rumbled through the darkness, low and hungry. You cannot stop us, Flash. You only make us stronger. Then, Black tendrils exploded outward, engulfing the entire room. And Barry realized he might not win this fight. The power plant was collapsing. Steel beams groaned under the weight of destruction. Sparks rained like dying fireflies, and thick, acrid smoke curled into the air. The generators, once humming with steady energy, now crackled erratically, overcharged from the damage, threatening to erupt. In the center of it all, Barry Allen barely clung to consciousness. His suit was ripped, torn in places down to the skin, streaks of blood mixing with the rain-slicked floor. His breathing came ragged, his chest heaving from exhaustion. The fight had been brutal, unrelenting, but the worst part wasn't the injuries. It was the realization sinking into his bones like ice. He couldn't outrun it anymore. Across from him, Venom loomed larger than ever. A writhing black nightmare of shifting tendrils and gnashing teeth. The symbiote had grown, bulked up from the fight, feeding off the battle, adapting. Its claws scraped against the metal floor, its grotesque, twisted grin stretching wider, a predator savoring the moment before the kill. "You fought well, little speedster," Venom rumbled, its voice like grinding stone and venomous whispers layered together. "But you are tired, slower. We smell it on you." Barry struggled to his feet, pain flaring through his ribs. Broken? Maybe. Didn't matter. He couldn't let this thing win. "Yeah," he muttered, wiping blood from his lip. "Well, you smell like roadkill." Venom laughed, and then it attacked. Barry blurred out of the way at the last second, feeling the air bend and distort as Venom's tendrils lashed out, demolishing the console behind him. Electricity exploded across the room, illuminating the beast in terrifying flashes of blue and white, making it look even more monstrous. Faster, stronger, meaner. It was evolving beyond him. Barry pushed forward, tapping into what little speed he had left, delivering blinding rapid-fire strikes to its torso, his fist crackling with Speed Force lightning. But it wasn't enough anymore. Venom absorbed the blows, tendrils lashing out mid-punch, intercepting his arms, trapping him mid-air. Before Barry could phase, a massive tendril slammed him into the ground. Everything went white. The impact sent shockwaves through his skull, his vision blurring at the edges. The world tilted sideways. He tasted blood, heard his own heartbeat slow. Venom loomed over him now, drool dripping onto Barry's face, the smell of death clinging to its breath. "You fought well," Venom purred, its massive, jagged maw dripping black tar. "But now, we feed." The tendrils wrapped around Barry's throat, tightening, lifting him off the ground. This was it. This was... Then the ceiling exploded. A deafening boom filled the air, sending debris raining down like meteorites. The force shattered the ground, sending Venom flying backward as a figure dropped from the sky, landing with enough force to crack the earth beneath them. And then... the temperature in the room changed. Venom snarled, reeling back, black tendrils hissing, retracting instinctively. Because standing there, bathed in golden light, eyes burning like twin stars, stood the last person Venom wanted to see. Superman. The power plant trembled as Superman straightened, his red cape billowing in the storm winds, his face carved from stone. He barely seemed to notice the destruction around him, his entire focus locked onto one thing. The monster that had left Barry Allen, a friend, a brother, lying broken and barely breathing. Superman had seen Barry bruised before, sure, beaten, exhausted. But this? His hands clenched into fists, his jaw tightened. No more! Venom snarled, tendrils snapping wildly, struggling against some unseen force. No, not unseen, unstoppable. The very presence of Superman seemed to weigh on the air like a gravitational pull. The symbiote knew what it was facing now. Not a hero, not a man, a force of nature. Venom reared back, trying to mask its unease, voice wavering. You smell different from the others, stronger. Superman took a step forward. Venom took one back. You've hurt enough people tonight. Superman's voice was calm, but the weight behind it, heavy, unforgiving. We hurt who we wish, Venom roared, charging massive claws swiping towards Superman's throat. And then, Superman moved. One moment, he was standing still. The next, he had Venom by the throat. The creature froze. Superman's grip was unbreakable. The symbiote lashed out, writhing, screaming, but the Man of Steel held firm. Then, with one blinding motion, he drove Venom straight through the floor. The entire building collapsed. Barry barely registered what happened next. There was a shockwave, a roar, a violent maelstrom of black tendrils, and blinding red heat vision cutting through the night. Superman was everywhere, his attacks precise, methodical. He didn't just beat Venom, he dismantled it. Every time Venom lashed out, Superman was faster. Every time Venom struck, Superman struck harder. Every time Venom tried to retreat, Superman dragged it back into the fight. Until, finally, it was over. Barry forced himself up just in time to see Superman standing over what was left of Eddie Brock. The symbiote lay in shredded remnants, steam rising from its scorched remains, its strength burned away by Superman's unrelenting assault. Eddie, now just a broken man, lay motionless, eyes empty, hollow. Superman exhaled slowly, his eyes dimming from their deadly glow. And then, finally, he looked down at Barry. "You okay?" Barry gave him a bloody grin. "I've been better." Superman's expression softened, but only slightly. His gaze flicked back to Eddie's unconscious body. What was this thing? Barry sighed. Something that shouldn't have been here. Superman's fist clenched slightly. And now, Barry swallowed. Now, it's over. But it wasn't. Somewhere unknown, a darkened cell, a laboratory filled with whispers and madness. The walls are alive, pulsing like a beating heart. Then, we see it. A containment chamber, glass lined with cracks, black fluid leaking from the corners. Inside, a figure moves, a symbiote. But not black, red. And then a voice, sickly, twisted, unstable. A man steps forward, his silhouette barely visible, his grin carved into his face. "You hear that, partner?" The voice is low, gleeful. Inside the chamber, the red tendrils pulse faster. The big blue boy scout thought Venom was a nightmare. A hand presses against the glass. The symbiote lashes forward. "Wait till he meets us." A shriek, a laugh, a massacre waiting to happen.